Okay, quick recap. We got the mega base. We got the mega base in space. Got the place to make more base. We've got material science, astronomic science, energy science, biological science. We got one thing left to do. Gotta go into deep space to make the naquiam plate. Then we can do deep space science. But before we do any of that, we just finished biological science, which means we got a whole bunch of stuff to research. Biological science lets us research a lot of upgrades. Agility, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, strength, and we get thruster suit 3.
Power up. Power up. Power up.
What the heck was that intro, you're probably asking yourself? This one was a little bit more obscure than the StarCraft or Mega Man or other references I've done during this series. I'll put a link in the description for a short little video. I'm referencing an arcade game from the 80s. So anyway, now that we have biological science under our belt, I've researched a number of new things. We got these attribute increases, which gave us things like character movement speed, bonus health, crafting speed, which is kind of whatever, lab research productivity, which is really good, and character inventory space. I've got a new Thruster Suit Mark III, quite a big grid, 12 by 14. We're a little bit zippier now. We got a new Adaptive Armor Mark V. And finally, we've researched productivity modules all the way up to rank 8. The design of the base was always made with productivity and speed module 7s in mind. We finally have both of those unlocked, and they are both being produced, so we can finally upgrade all the different parts of our base to their final speed. I'm also producing a limited number of productivity module 8s, and we got one thing in mind for those. These are going to go in our science lab, so let's just paste them in here. I've also trimmed the overall research area a bit because we weren't using all the different labs, and this means I need fewer productivity module 8s, and that's good because they're pretty expensive to craft. So now with our different research productivity bonuses from my personal upgrades as well as from the productivity modules, our research productivity has gone from 68% to 128%. It is literally just doubled from adding these modules into these guys. That's pretty good. So now that all that stuff is taken care of, next thing we need to do is some zone discovery. We've got 3 different types of zone discovery we can do with our astronomic science packs. We can search for planets, moons, and asteroid belts using telescopes. Or we can do targeted zone discovery, which does the same thing, but we get to pick what we're looking for. We've already discovered all the planets and moons around our system, but with these researches we can discover planets and moons around other stars. And if we look into our Informatron, we can pick what resource we're looking for, but I don't really need any of these resources right now. In the future we might do this if we need to, but for now what we really need to do is deep space zone discovery, because that's where we're going to find the last resource, the naquiam. So let's queue up a bunch of these and see what we find. So if we look at our star chart, we've got some new additions. Previously it was just stars, but now we've got a series of asteroid fields. These have things like copper and other basic materials. This one, the primary material is iron. We also see how far away it is, 70,000 delta V to get from our star out to here. Our star is here, Colitis, so those are pretty far. We'll need a quite capable starship to get all the way out there. Here's one that's really far away, 169,000 delta V. This one's got iron ore. Oh, there we go. Naquitite, but it's not the primary ingredient, but it is going to be present here. What we'd like to find is an asteroid field that's close by and that has Naquitite as the primary, most plentiful material. Here's one that has Naquitite as the primary material, but it's still pretty far away. 100,000 delta V. So after doing deep space zone discovery 50 times, we've officially run out of asteroid fields to find. Our telescopes did not find anything new in deep space the last 4 times I tried it. If we look at our star map, this is what it looks like now. That is quite a lot of asteroid fields, but really we're interested in the ones closest to Colitis, our star, because we're going to have to fly out to these asteroid fields. The closer, the better. And we want the Naquitite to be the most plentiful object in the asteroid field. So this one, no. This one, no. This one, no. It's second, not first. This one, no. This one, no. This one, no. This one, yes. This is the closest asteroid field with Naquitite as the primary ingredient, the most plentiful resource, and it is 35,000 Delta V from our location. For reference, here's our planet Nalvis, and the outpost we have that's the farthest from here currently is Elpis, which is a whopping total 8,000 Delta V away. So that puts our desired asteroid field 4 times further away than our current furthest outpost. I think we're going to need a brand new starship to tackle this problem. All of our previous starships, whether they're running on rocket engines or ion engines, have been powered by solar panels, but that's not going to cut it out in an asteroid field. Once we go all the way out to Melancholia, the solar strength we'll be receiving is 1% of normal, so we're going to have to find something else. So for new starship, we need some flooring, we need some walls, we need a console, we need some kind of tank to hold our rocket fuel. We're going to try these isothermic generators, then we need some tanks for our ion stream, and we need the rockets that run on ion stream. These ion engines are currently the most powerful engines we have available to us until we go out into the asteroid belt to get some Naquitite, at which point we'll be able to unlock the antimatter engine. Ooh, that looks nice. I think I'm developing an appetite for Naquitite. But for now, we're stuck with these ion engines. Each one of these guys requires 10 megawatts of power to fly us through space, and each one of these fluid isothermic generators generates 2 megawatts of power. So for every one of these guys, we need 5 of these guys. These generators are super straightforward. We're just going to fill some tanks with rocket fuel and then run the rocket fuel right through there. It's just that easy. They're super straightforward. Very simple. That's why we're starting with this option. So this is a super rough first draft just to see how much space is available, how close are we to our limit. We also haven't added any shields or turrets. We'll probably use physical gun turrets because I think power is going to be of issue. Let's see, how we doing? How close are we to our limit? About 2/3 of the way there. We're also not streamlined at all, which will affect our top speed. But that should be no problem. Add some corners, add some cool space fins. We'll be good to go. So the new ship is finished. Last thing to do is head down to the surface to pick up some uranium ammo because we're going to use some gun turrets on this new ship to save on power. Only need to power the inserters inserting the ammo instead of laser turrets, which use a lot of power. So right here I've got a Requester's Strongbox dropping off uranium ammo. Is that going to be enough ammo to last us the whole trip? I guess we'll find out. While we're down here, we can also upgrade some machines to Productivity Module 7s. We're going to use the Module Inserter mod, which I've had installed for a while, but we're really only going to start using it right now. I have used it previously to upgrade the beacons, and I've upgraded some machines in space. You can see I've got a big long list of what I want in each machine. This mod is pretty straightforward, so we just pick the machine, and then we tell it what modules we want inside of it, and it'll autofill with the first module you give it, but you can obviously give it a multitude of different modules depending on the machine. So this one, we're going to put eventually a Efficiency Module 7. This is the Wide Area Beacon 2. This is sort of the last thing we don't have to upgrade all our machines to the final speed, plus the last supercomputer. We don't have that yet either. Last 2 upgrades for speed in our base. So we're going to be upgrading fuel refineries, chemical plants, industrial furnaces, pulverizers, fuel refineries, and maybe a few other odds and ends. As I come across new machines that need to get upgraded, like, centrifuges, we'll be upgrading those. But if we come across something that's not on the list, we'll just add it to the list. All right. So, let's fly up around here. Who is going to be the first candidate? Maybe we will upgrade these guys. This is the beryllium plate area, and this is looking a little bit anemic. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stage process, and they're going to benefit from productivity at every single stage. So let's see how it goes. Upgraded, easy peasy. Upgraded, easy peasy. Upgraded. I don't know if I have enough modules to do all of this. We'll just go down in sections. How about that? I wonder, will it tell it to... No, okay, this is already upgraded, so it won't redo what it's already done. If I tell it to... Yeah, okay, it doesn't take out the modules that are already there to put them back in. Not sure how smart this mod is. Seems like it's working pretty good. Very similar to Upgrade Planner, but even more straightforward than that. I've got 80 modules left. It's going to take a while to build enough modules to upgrade the whole base. I don't know if we'll ever upgrade everything. I guess we'll see in the fullness of time, but that's it. I'm out of modules. We've already expended all of them just on this little area, however many that was 400 or something. But we got a lot of stuff to do, and while we wait on those to craft, we can go back to space. We can try out our shiny new spaceship. Space. Yep, that is space. Yeah, confirmed. That is definitely space. Captain's log. Stardate irrelevant. The maiden voyage of the newly christened USS Zisteauprise F is well underway, the first deep space vessel of its kind. Although when I first envisioned a deep space starship, I'm not sure I had this in mind. Nevertheless, the isothermic generators appear to be working as foreseen. As well, the ion engines appear to be working perfectly flawlessly. Ooh, cool to the touch. Feels nice. It's like a cool shower. It's refreshing. And while there has been some cosmetic damage to the ship, we should be fine, as it's only going to take 20 minutes to get to the asteroid field. Stop! Turn this ship around. That is unacceptable. That's far too slow. We're gonna need a new ship. This thing is pathetic. You've officially been decommissioned. Alright, so new ship design. Still gonna need walls, still gonna need a console. We are still gonna use those ion engines, so we're gonna need some ion engine tanks. But instead of using the fluid isothermic generators, this time we're gonna use nuclear reactors. Generating heat in space with a nuclear reactor should be no problem. The problem is what to do with that heat. If we were to use the default steam turbine, we'd have a really hard time storing enough water on our ship to keep the thing powered for very long, but lucky for us, the mod pack comes with a new technology, condenser turbines. Not as efficient as a normal turbine, but it does take 99% of the steam and recycle it back into water, which gives us another resource loop. Oh, what a coincidence. Who would have thought? Resource loop. Gotta love it. But in this case, it's gonna be extremely useful, because that means we don't need nearly as much water. So the build's gonna look something like this. We'll have a central tank with our water in it. Then we'll send water out to these heat exchangers. They'll receive heat from the nuclear reactors. They'll turn the water into steam. The steam will go into the turbines, generate some power, and most of it is going to go back through the pipe, back into the tank, and we just cycle it endlessly until we run out. We'll still be using up water, but it'll last 100 times longer than a typical nuclear setup. Easy, right? Yeah, easy. Space. A lot of space out in deep space. Pretty spacey out here. Captain's log. Stardate still irrelevant. The maiden voyage of the USS Zisteauprise G is well underway, and things this time are going exactly to plan. USS Zisteauprise G boasts a speed nearly twice as fast as that previous hunk of crap, and is currently accelerating out of the local system and into deep space. As the first Metroid-class starship, the USS Zisteauprise G is also the first and probably only nuclear-powered starship ever to exist. Because my hankering, my appetite for Naquitite, means we're about to get some antimatter technology. A mere 10 more minutes to travel through deep space out to an asteroid field. Pretty good. Pretty good. And here we are. We have arrived at the asteroid field. There's the Naquitite right over there. Our starship still has more than 90% or so of the water remaining, and we've got tons of uranium fuel cells, so we could fly quite a distance farther. Should be no problem getting home. Let's get away from these turbines. They are super loud. Let's take a look at this. There is a small asteroid rock on here. It only contains, as per the expected resources, stone and copper. Oh, but this purple stuff, the Naquitite, that looks delicious. It requires 2 sulfuric acid per mining operation, so we're going to have to request some supplies. We're going to start with rockets. Even though we are pretty far from our star, from our home planet, our spaceships are still going to be pretty slow, so we're going to use rockets for the time being. I do expect there to be some crashes, But we'll just have to deal with it until we can unlock the antimatter engines, and then we can make some ships to ferry things out here and to ferry the Naquitite back. But before we do any of that, we need to set up some things. So let's grab some space scaffolding and let's build some stuff. And just like that, here's our basic outpost setup, very similar to our other outposts, only this time because we're on asteroids and I only have so much space platform, we're going to spread things out a little bit. We need to place down our meteor defense installations. We're going to find, I guess, this rock down here, we'll place them on. We're currently using our spaceship for power, and the only reason it's plugged in at all is to provide light, because it's really dark here. It's not good for YouTube videos if it's super dark all the time. I am keeping an eye on the water, though, so if it starts to run too low, we'll just operate in the dark. We're going to need sulfuric acid for this outpost, so we're going to set up some additional landing pads. We're going to bring some ice, some sulfur, and some iron plates, and I've set up a new cargo rocket with the sulfur. Once we get the antimatter engines, we can make a new spaceship, so we can bring the sulfuric acid out here and not have to worry about barrels. Our Metroid-class starship doesn't have quite the power outputs to be able to run the meteor defense setup, so let's take care of that right now. Let's work on a more permanent power solution. So here's the build. I thought it'd be a good idea to equip the old night vision goggles, seeing as how there's no light out here, at least until we get some electricity and I can power up some light bulbs. This is similar to the system that's on our spaceship, just a little bit more spread out. And one thing I did notice flying out here is that the condenser turbines were a little bit slow getting all the water out, even with all these pumps running laterally. So what I did is I added pumps directly connected to the turbines to get that water out of there so they never have to shut down, so they're always active. So we have full power output. I've got two different layouts here. This should give us a bit more than a gigawatt of power. Unfortunately, I didn't foresee using this many pumps, so we're going to have to sneak some onto one of our shipments of stuff. I've currently researched 15 ranks of rocket survivability and rocket cargo safety. We're working on rocket reusability number 18. We're recycling 88% of our rockets, and after that one's done, we'll be recycling 92%. But the further away you are, the more likely your rocket is to crash. Let's see how many crash coming out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And did they? Oh, yeah, one of them did. Oh my gosh. Which one crashed? The rocket fuel. Maybe it was the rocket fuel one. Oh, and there's the next one. It's already arrived. Is there more stuff crashing? Okay, but we did get our rocket fuel. None of the inserters are working because there's no power. So let's jump start it by plugging the spaceship back into the grid. There we go. Oh, and you know what? I also, in order to make sure we didn't run out of water, I disabled the inserters loading the fuel cells into the reactor, so I'll just load them manually, and that'll heat the pipes back up. That'll get the steam going, give us a little bit of power, just enough to run our inserters. We've got to turn this ice into water. That water's got to go up to where the reactors are. We also need the fuel cells to go up to where the reactors are. Anyway, while we wait for the new reactor setup to heat up, there should be some pumps here in this layout. Yeah, there they are. Okay. Let's run these up here and finish off the second layout, which was just missing those pumps. Boom! Oh man, it's so nice having robots that fly at a decent speed. And it seems like the heat pipes have mostly heated up. We have to get them over 500 degrees, still lagging a little bit behind over here. You need enough power just to turn enough of that ice into water to get the water out here, to turn it into steam, and then we should be at full capacity. We're up to half a gigawatt. All right, that's good. Looks like we need about that full gigawatt, but that's only because everything is running all at once. I think that'll calm down a little bit, especially once some of these miners back up, but we are mining up that delicious looking Naquitite. Oh wow, you know what I didn't realize? This stuff only stacks to 10. Who's the jerk that decided Naquitite should only stack to 10? Seriously, who thought that would be a good idea? Anyway, I think our outpost is stable and up and running. We've got all of our stuff. It's been delivered. There were a little bit of crashes, but nothing too catastrophic, and we can always deliver more of this stuff. We've got quite a supply of ice and sulfur and iron plates here, so we've got enough for the sulfuric acid. We've got enough for the water and the fuel cells for the nuclear power, and that's getting recycled at a 99% efficiency. So that should be fine until we get the antimatter engine stuff, and we can revise all this stuff. Anyway, I took off the night vision goggles, so now we're seeing in the normal spectrum again. Looks pretty good, and I didn't mention this, but I put a little wire condition on the pump. This is the fresh water coming from the ice down below. And this is the same kind of thing we've done on other resource loops. We just tell it only to let the water in when it drops below a certain value. So the majority of the water in the tank is from the recycled circuit, and we've got a different circuit for each of these different sets of turbines. Seems to be working just fine. I'll keep an eye on it from space, from our base in space. This base is also in space. This is an outpost in space. But I think it's time to leave this outpost in space. Time to go back to our base in space, but not in deep space. So we're back on our home planet, back at the original mega base, and I've laid out a nice big fresh area covered in bricks so that we can work on processing up all of this Naquitite we just brought back, or we're about to bring back. So here's a basic flow chart of how to make Naquitite. Fairly straightforward as far as the flow chart is concerned. We put the raw ore into a crusher, it gets crushed. Then it gets washed, then it gets dried out, then it gets blasted into an ingot, then it gets flattened down into a plate. Bing, bang, boom, easy peasy. We've got a few additional things we need to supply down here. So we need water at the washing stage, big surprise, and then at the turning it back into powder stage, we're going to need to make some vitalic acid. And then for the blasting it into an ingot stage, we need to supply some vulcanite blocks. We also have some byproducts here that we've got to cycle back around. So in the washing stage, we're going to have some stone byproduct. We're going to have to cycle that back around into a different part of our production. And then in the cooking it down into a powder stage, we're going to have a byproduct of sand and water, and we want to recycle that as well. I previously had issues with the beryllium plate and the productivity modules recycling more water than we need initially, and I had to go from recycling the water to burning it off into nothing. So something to keep in mind, but in this instance, it shouldn't be a big deal because although this is more water here getting recycled than we need at this step, we will need it for other things. So we're going to need to make some vitalic acid, and this production is pretty straightforward. We put it into a pulverizer and it gets crushed into nuggets, I guess. Then we cook it into a roast, and we'll also need some vulcanite blocks for this stage. Then we're going to roast it again, I guess, into a spice or do something to it to turn it into that spice. Then it gets turned into an extract. I guess we're distilling it. Then we're turning it into an acid with sulfuric acid and glass. So we need both of those as well. Here is the glass. This is super straightforward. We take the stone, we crush it into sand, and then we bake it into glass. No big deal. Also need vulcanite blocks there. We need sulfuric acid for that vitalic acid. This is also super straightforward. Water and crude oil gets us petroleum gas. We add some water and some iron, and we get some sulfuric acid. That's super straightforward. And then the vulcanite block, also super straightforward, although we do have a byproduct of steam. We can just get rid of that by using a normal everyday steam engine, no big deal. And then a byproduct of stone, which we can recycle with the other stone byproduct back into the creation of sand for the glass. It's dark. Seems pretty easy, right? Wrong! If we want to achieve 4 full belts of naquiam plate at once, although the ore only stacking to 10 is going to cause a huge bottleneck problem, which we'll have to worry about later. We need this many machines making plates, this many machines making ingots, this many machines making the powder, etc., etc. A whole lot of machines doing this step. This is a very slow process, 20 seconds just for one operation, and then a lot fewer over on the other end. We're also going to need a whole bunch of machines making the vitalic acid at each and every step. That's a lot of machines. Down here it does get a little bit better. A lot of machines making glass and sand. But then the sulfuric acid, very straightforward, and the vulcanite blocks, also very straightforward. So how do we make sense out of all these machines? How do we turn this into a coherent build? Let's start here with the vitalic acid, and without going into spreadsheets or raw numbers or boring math, let's just go with the visual stuff. We need 29 machines here for the vitalic acid, and then we need 92 here for the previous step. So let's make a little module, and then once we have that module, maybe we can copy that a number of times. I don't have, oh my, right, personal robot port is not on. Thanks, robots. So anyway, that ratio is just about 1 to 3, and we can scale up whichever one is lower to achieve that ratio and make it right so we don't lose any machines. Then if we look at the next set, 92 on this step, and then 95 on this step. So that's pretty close to 1 to 1. That's pretty handy. One of these machines to one of these machines, 3 of these machines to one of those machines. Next step down, we've got 95 of these machines to 35 of these machines. That's pretty close to 1 to 3. Once again, this part here is a little bit awkward. How do we get these guys to reach? We can use a little buffer chest as a go-between, so we'll just do this and that, and this and that, and then we'll limit this to 1 or 2 stacks of space here, so it's just transferring items from the machine directly into there. And we'll still need to provide the sulfuric acid, and we also need to provide glass. Okay, next step, going backwards through the production chain, 35 of these to 20 of those. That's about 1 to 2. So I guess we might end up having 20 of these guys. We'll scale this up to have 40. And then along down the chain, which means we'll have 40 of these instead of 29. That means we'll have more machines overall, but we're going to save a ton of space where we won't need a bunch of belts connecting different builds together. And also direct insertion is better for the lag. So 1 of these guys to 2 of these guys. So we just duplicate that whole thing we just made. Boom, boom, and we've got a module. Now we just need to copy this 20 times. Okay, let's do one for the naquiam plates. We need 32 of these machines here versus 35 of these here. That is pretty close to 1 to 1, so let's make it 1 to 1. There we go. Then next, we've got a doozy. We need 35 of these guys versus 278 of these. Now, it's perfectly reasonable when you have a disparity this ridiculous to separate these via normal belts, have this be one build, this be another build, connect it all up via belts. But this is almost exactly an 8 to 1 ratio, so let's see if we can get it to work. 6 to 1 seems to be no big deal. 8 to 1, that's kind of tricky. We can move these guys inwards and probably still get it to work, and the math works out that these guys are so slow we can use a long-handed inserter instead of a fast inserter. We'll just need to keep in mind that the water routing issues and the other ingredients, the vitalic acid and the washed naquitite, we've also got a byproduct of sand we're going to have to worry about. So this is going to be very tricky, and it's possible it's too tricky to even manage. We'll see. Okay, next step, 278 to 19. That's 20 to 1. Okay, that is not going to happen, not even close, and these machines are the exact same size. We don't have the size disparity like we did over there. So in this instance, I think we will actually divide these guys into separate builds and just build it normally. You can only push the direct insertion so far. Okay, anyway, enough prototyping. Let's build the real deal. Robots! So the build here is all ready to go. We just need to connect up the remaining belts and pipes and clear the block in the landing pads, and stuff should begin to be crafted. The crude oil is coming from this patch right over here. The water is coming from the ocean right there. Iron ore we need is coming from this patch right here, and the stone we need is coming from this patch right here. This one and this one are actually connected at the moment, so technically it's coming from both. And everything else is coming from landing pads. We've only got the one cargo rocket launching the Naquitite, so that's going to be a bit slow. Plus, it needs a ton of fuel. So let's start with everything else, then we'll make sure that that works properly. Clear out the Vitamelange and check on the outpost. There's that guy launching. And real quick, I'll fly over to the other side and clear that one. And then we can check again. I got all these hotkeyed. He should be taking off. Yep, there he goes. Okay, great success. And here's that module we developed just a moment ago, but it's all hooked up. It's got all the belts, it's got all the inserters, also got beacons and modules. Running down here, let's clear the block in that one. That is coming from one of these guys. Should fire up. There he goes, right there. Okay, he should be arriving momentarily. That's the stone to make sand to make glass. And then right here is the other side. More stone to make sand to make glass. Then we need a little bit of iron plate for our sulfuric acid. And we need to move these pumps into position so the water and the crude can kick it into gear. There we go, making sulfur. There's iron plates. In just a second. And there we go, sulfuric acid being created like magic. All right, let's unblock the Naquitite. Naquitite? I don't know. I like to say Naquitite because it rhymes with appetite. And I definitely have an appetite for Naquitite. There we go. I had more storage tanks here, so if it was all backed up, it would be able to load the next rocket quickly because it takes almost 300,000 liquid rocket fuel to launch all the way from the asteroid belt. So that takes care of that half, but it's probably going to empty before the rocket reloads. Well, this is fine. We're just getting the thing up and running. Eventually, we'll have a little outpost to ferry the Naquitite back from each different ore patch. Instead of using trains or really long conveyor belts, we'll just have a dedicated spaceship for each ore patch. We've already crushed all of that Naquitite. Man, I can't believe this crap only stacks to 10. That is honestly infuriating, but what are you gonna do? We'll be done with this stupid mod pack soon, won't we? Yeah, sure we will. All right, we just made Naquitite powder, and that's getting blasted into Naquitite ingots. Here's that module we were fiddling with earlier, but much more developed with way more belts and inserters going all over the place. Oh, look at that, plates, Naquitite plates. My appetite for Naquitite. Yum, 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 yum. We're not making it very fast, but we're definitely making it. You know what that means. That's a check mark. Aside from the ore only stacking to 10 and the rocket being super far away and taking a while to fuel up, it's already loaded all the way. It doesn't take long when it only stacks to 10, but it does take a ton of fuel. Aside from those issues, we are also only using productivity module 3s when we should be using productivity module 7s. As soon as we have enough crafted, we will come through here and upgrade this. We're definitely going to need a lot of Naquitite plates to do the science to upgrade all the things to get the next tier of stuff. And here is Naquitite cargo rocket delivery number 2. We'll get a smattering of plates out of that, I guess. We ended up with that amount from one rocket. Oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. I've just remembered there's this alternate recipe for rocket fuel that takes 1 copper plate and 1,000 water for 1 solid rocket fuel. And we might want to use that for our outpost out here. It's going to be expensive fueling up the rocket, taking 285,000 liquid rocket fuel for every delivery. It takes just about an entire cargo rocket full of solid rocket fuel to fill this guy up to send him back, but we got some copper right there, and we do have liquid ice in the area. There's 3.9 water ice. We could turn that into liquid rocket fuel via the rocket fuel from water alternate recipe. We might have to consider that once we go back out there to do some more fiddling. Oh look, it's already filtered through. Isn't that funny? Now we've got some more. All right, I guess it's gonna be a slow process, but once we start making Deep Space Science Pack, we need 100 to get to this cube, then we need 1,000 to get to antimatter production, and then we need a further 2,000 to get to antimatter engine, and then we can revamp our whole system. But I think that does it for the video. We went all the way to deep space, we came all the way back, we're making some fancy purple metal plates. Delicious. So, next time, Deep Space Science. Have a good day. Bye-bye.